Hey, what's up, guys? This is Walt, and this is the Jets Landing Zone. Welcome back. I know it's been a long time. I think the last time we did an episode was way back in the preseason. And so, just so that you guys have an understanding of why that is, I am also the creator and host of another show called The Jets Giants Show. And so, when I created the show, I thought, hey, you know what? I can do that, and I could probably do this. And it turns out I can't because the other show takes up a lot of my time. But I don't know if this is good news or bad news. It doesn't look like the Jets and Giants show is going to move forward anymore. So that means I get to come back and kind of mess around with my little pet project here of the Jets landing zone. So we are, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, um a lot of things have happened since the last time I did a show. And the last show that I did, I think it was like a free agent special where we were talking about Tyrone Smith and Morgan Moses and all these guys that were coming on to the Jets. And listen, that free agent class, the trades that were made, it put the Jets in a place where a lot of people thought they were going to be super successful, and it hasn't quite gotten there yet. Now, understand, we are now sitting at the time that I'm recording this video at 2-4. The Jets did start out as at 2-1, and then they went ahead and lost to the Broncos 10-9 on a missed field goal at the very end of the game by Greg Zuerlein. They went over across the seas, across the pond, to go and play the Vikings, which they lost by a touchdown, by less than a touchdown. And then last Monday night, they played the Bills and lost by 3 points. So, um, like I said, a lot of stuff has happened. You know, Aaron Rodgers is back. He played sort of well, then didn't, then played well again. And in the interim, and I say interim, Robert Saleh got fired. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole big thing about, whether he should have or he shouldn't. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that. But I will say this. I do believe that Robert Saleh was a scapegoat in this whole situation. I really do believe that, you know what, this is a guy that last year was expecting to have Aaron Rodgers for the whole season, and we all know what happened with that. 4 plays into the very first game, he lost Aaron Rodgers for the whole season. I kind of expected that he would probably last at least past midseason because you know what? This is the first time Aaron Rodgers is here actually playing for the team. This is the first time that he's trying to get acclimated with his teammates, and we did see evidence of, him and Garrett Wilson, him and Mike Williams not being on the same page. So I thought at the very least you give the man and you afford him some time to actually, you know, I don't know, see what he can do with this team and with this quarterback. And Woody Johnson never gave him the chance. Now, that being said, we've got Jeff Ulbrich as our new head coach. He's also taking on defensive coordinator duties and stuff like that. And listen, the Buffalo Bill game, 23-20. Maybe he could have made a couple of changes here. Maybe the duties of keeping on defensive play calling was a little bit too much because the team defensively didn't start out well. That being said, we all knew there was going to be growing pains with Ulbrich. That's just the fact of life. The guy is a brand new head coach, never did it before, doing it for the first time, taking on defensive play and calling while at the same time trying to minister for the entire team. You kind of know that this was going to happen. So it is what it is. But the other thing that happened is that, and let's get into the graphic here, all these changes are happening with the Jets right now. So Robert Saleh out, Jeff Ulbrich in. Nate Hackett, the offensive play caller for the Jets, he was demoted. Well, demoted, taking away responsibilities for the team. And Todd Downing was elevated to the play caller, not the offensive coordinator. He still remains a quarterback and play calling coach, whatever that is, and stuff like that. But he took over play calling, and there was a noticeable difference in that game. There was a lot more motion. Previously, we were talking about the Jets being one of the least, the team that utilized motion the least. They went to over 75% motion in that game. And you can tell there was a stark difference because it opened up the running game. The passing game was a little bit more crisp. We got Garrett Wilson involved, people. That's something that we've been waiting for the entire time. It just wasn't enough. There, famously, uh, Aaron Rodgers called out Mike Williams in his press conference, whether you believe that's good or bad. A lot of people say there was accountability that he was trying to put on Mike Williams. Other people are saying, you know what, you don't call out a veteran wide receiver who's excelled and been successful in this game like that. But the fact of the matter is, it does look like Mike Williams is going to get traded. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? The Aaron Rodgers shows continues in New York. So that being said, Sunday night, the Jets, the Steelers. The Jets are coming into this game 2-4. The Steelers are 4-2. Now, the incredible thing about this is that despite the fact that they're 4-2, it feels like there's sort of like a Zach Wilson thing going on over there in Pittsburgh, because Justin Fields was the quarterback, and he's led this team to a 4-2 record. He hasn't played spectacular, granted, especially the last couple of games, but that seems to be prompting Coach Tomlin over there to say, hey, guess what? Maybe it's time we move on from Justin Fields and we bring in Russell Wilson. Now, for me, that seems to be a pretty good thing for the Jets, because Russell Wilson, first of all, is not as mobile as Justin Fields. So that kind of gives the Jets a little bit less pressure in terms of having to kind of shadow this guy. And you saw that they were having a difficult time on Monday night with Josh Allen, especially that very last play that sealed it, where, you know what, Michael Clemens kind of misread the play completely and let Josh Allen get outside and kind of seal the game for them. I believe this is a good thing for the Jets. This comes at a really good time for them because, let's be frank, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a very good team. They're a very well-coached team with Mike Tomlin there. And now you're putting in Russell Wilson, who, quite frankly, has not been with the team for very long. Literally this year, has not played a down for them. So there's going to be growing pains there. Secondly, you don't have to deal with as mobile of the quarterback as you would have if Justin Fields was there. So that actually takes away an element of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense right there. So that kind of plays in very well with the Jets scheme. The defense is going to be a little bit easier for them to kind of focus on who they need to focus on, which is probably going to be the run game. On defense, we're going to see what Todd Downing is made of, because this is going to be the debut of Dante Adams. Now, Dante Adams, they just finished trading for him from the Raiders. They gave up a 3rd-round pick. I believe it becomes a 2nd if certain conditions are met, which would be if either he becomes a 1st or a 2nd-team All-Pro, or if the Jets make it either to the conference finals or the Super Bowl. Now, in my opinion, that's a no-brainer. You kind of give that up, because you know what? If the Jets do make the conference finals or the Super Bowl, that's a pick that's not going to be as great as everybody thinks it is. It's probably going to be like a 2nd-round pick in the 60s. So no harm, no foul there. And if Devontae Williams becomes an All-Pro, well, that by extension means that the offense is probably clicking, which means, again, that the Jets are probably doing really well and probably will, move forward in the playoffs further than we would expect. So I'm okay with the compensation that they gave him. Now let's see what Todd Downing kind of cooks up in this offense with Adams, because now you've got in the passing game, you've got Aaron Rodgers throwing to Devontae Adams, throwing to Garrett Wilson, who I fully expect will be in the slot. You're going to have him throwing to Alan Lazard. You've got Tyler Conklin coming out of the backfield. You've got Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. So there is a team there that is ready to explode. Now, will it happen in this particular game? I don't think so. Because again, you got to, even though Devontae Adams is very well versed with what Aaron Rodgers do, they were teammates for quite a number of years. There's still going to be a learning curve, but I think they're going to be better. And I think you're going to see them pass more just because Pittsburgh is an incredibly tough team when it comes to run defense. So I think you're not going to see as much Breece Hall. I'd be surprised if Breece Hall goes off. I wish he does. I hope he does. But I really do believe that you're going to see a lot of passing in this game from the Jets' perspective. And the other thing that is going to bode well, and we're going to see how good of a play caller Todd Downing is. There's a guy on X, Michael Nania, who's really, really good at explaining stuff. If you want to learn football, go follow him on X. But he highlighted the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not as good when the quarterback of the opposing team is throwing under 2.5 seconds. Now, one of the strengths that the Jets have, one of the things that Aaron Rodgers does very well, is that he throws under 2.5 seconds very, very frequently. And so we're going to see exactly if Todd Downing can take advantage of that scenario, because anything longer than that, now you're dealing with the Pittsburgh pass rush, and they're pretty good, especially with a guy that's called T.J. Watt on that side of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, how they do it, and so I really, really do think that the Jets have a really, really good shot at winning this game. They're favored by 2 in this game. I really do believe it's going to be a little bit more than that. I kind of think that this is going to be a 23-17 game. Jets winning it in Pittsburgh. And let's see. And so if that's the case, let's look ahead, because that'll put the Jets at 3-4. And mind you, this is a must-win game for them. I mean, if they don't win this game, the chances of them making the playoffs is going to be very, very difficult. But if they do win, let's take a look at that schedule, because that schedule does not become that hard that much anymore. I mean, you're looking at the Patriots right after that. You're looking at the Texans, which on Halloween is going to be a pretty difficult game, but it's a good benchmark to see where this Jets team is against the Texans. Then after that, you're talking about the Cardinals, the Colts. You got to buy after that. The Seahawks, which aren't really playing that well. The Dolphins that have fallen off of a cliff here. The Jaguars, who are struggling just to be decent. You got the Rams coming up. You got another tilt with the Bills on the 29th of December. And then you end up against the Dolphins, which probably is going to be a game where the Jets will need to win to make to the playoffs. Looking at this schedule, maybe you lose to the Texans, maybe you lose to the Seahawks, and maybe you lose to the Bills. That puts you basically at 8-3. If the Jets can pull off 8-3, I mean, and to be quite honest, the Jets, there's no reason why they can't do that. They have a very, very talented team on paper. They just need to translate that onto the field. So if they can do that, I mean, it's going to be relatively simple for them to get into the playoffs, because I think everybody right now is kind of bunched up. You're going to start to see teams kind of pull away and start putting their imprint on this season right now. But right now, the Jets, they're fortunate that kind of the AFC is kind of all just bunched up. There's 2-4, 3-3, 4-2s. There's a ton of teams that are like that in the AFC. So that is a really, really good situation. I know the last couple of weeks, last week in particular, there's a lot of Jets fans that are kind of like, losing their whats and stuff like that because, it's the same old Jets and stuff like that. I'm going to quote Aaron Rodgers. Guys, relax. Because you know what? I really do think that, especially with that last game, you saw a lot of really good things from that offense. And now you're adding Devontae Adams. That's only going to make it better. That defense, yes, they did start off slow. But remember, this was just Jeff Ulbricht's first game as a head coach. And while he was doing that, he was also calling defensive plays. So you got to give him some time to kind of like get comfortable with that seat, get comfortable in terms of, just learning what a head coach is and what they have to do and all the things that they have to, you gotta make sure the schedules, weight training, getting these guys ready, working with the offense and the defense. There's a lot of things that Jeff Ulbrich has to do, and I think this game you're going to see him a little bit more comfortable. I think that defense is going to be a little bit more comfortable. And so I really, really do think we're in a pretty good place, Jet fans. I mean, what do you guys think? Leave us some notes in the comments and let us know what you think. You know what I'm saying? Do the Jets have enough to make the playoffs? Do the Jets have enough coaching to make the playoffs? Let us know in the comments. And so, with that, we're going to call this a show. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining back. And hopefully we're going to have a more regular schedule going forward. But until then, JETS, 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 Jets.